To what extent has Iceland created an effective system of government? The Icelandic government is structured around a representative democratic republic framework. Within this, the Prime Minister of Iceland is the head of government and of a multi-party system, similar to that of the US. Elections and referendums are held regularly, and it is arguably the world's oldest government. Executive power is exercised by the government, and legislative power is assigned in both the government and the parliament, which is called the Althing. The judiciary branch is solitary and is independent of the executive and legislative branches. Iceland is located east of Greenland along the mid-Atlantic ridge. The European and Northern American tectonic plates stretch from the southwest to the northeast of Iceland. Many of Iceland's ground area is of volcanic origin to such an extent that 2/3 of the population inhabits a 10-kilometre radius of the capital, which happens to be the most northern capital in the world. It is immediately south of the Arctic Circle and is only heated by the Gulf Stream. With a population of 320,000 people and a land area of 103,000 kilometres squared, Iceland is one of the most scarcely populated countries on the planet. Lava fields, mountains and glaciers make living conditions tough, and the people of Iceland are very traditional. The first recorded settlement was in 874 AD when Chief Ingolf Arnason became the first permanent Nordic inhabitant of the island. From 1262 to 1918, Iceland was part of the Norwegian and later the Danish monarchies. The country became independent in 1918 and a republic was declared in 1944. The Danish-Iceland Act of Union expired after 25 years on the 31st of December 1943. On the 20th of May 1944, Icelanders voted in a referendum lasting 4 days on whether to dismiss the personal union with Denmark, abolish the monarchy and establish a republic. The vote was counted and 97% of the population was in favour of ending the union and 95% in favour of the new republic constitution. As a result, on the 17th of June 1944, Iceland formally became a republic with Sven Bjornsson as its first president. The government branches, the politics of Iceland. The executive branch. The executive branch is the part of government that has sole authority and responsibility for the daily administration of the country. The executive branch executes and carries out the law. The President of Iceland is the country's head of state and the only representative chosen by the entire electorate in the direct election. The position of the President was established in the Constitution of the Republic of Iceland in 1944, which was previously mentioned. The fifth President of the Republic is President Grimsson, who has been re-elected 3 times since 1996. Under the Constitution of the President, the President delegates executive power to governmental authorities. The role of the President is to exercise legislative power, meaning that laws are written by the legislative branch and then approved by the President before the law is passed. If the President refuses to sign the law, then it can still be accepted. However, it is subjected to a general referendum. If this proves positive, it remains in force. If not, it is abolished. If the President is not present, then the presidential powers are passed down to the Prime Minister, the Speaker of the Althing, and the President of the Supreme Court. The nearest resident of the President of Iceland is Bessidor near Reykjavik. Major names of the executive branch are the Chief of State, President Grimsson, the Head of Government, Prime Minister Sigurðardóttir, and the Cabinet appointed by the Prime Minister. Elections for President are held every 4 years. The last election was held on the 30th of June 2012. Following legislative elections, the leader of the majority party coalition is usually the Prime Minister. The government of Iceland is a democracy and a parliament republic. Representatives in frequent elections result in a fair rule over the citizens. By applying a direct democracy, the nation has their say through referendums and laws and Iceland's input on global issues. The frequent re-election of the President requires a majority vote so that the people will be happy with who is governing them. The legislative branch. The legislative branch creates the laws of Iceland. The Althing was founded in 1845 by the Danish king and still stands today as the Icelandic Parliament. It is seen to be a re-establishment of the assembly founded in 1930 AD in the Commonwealth. The Althing consists of 63 members elected every 4 years. Until 1991, membership of the Althing was divided into lower and upper house. Currently, though, it's based on a fully unicameral system. The laws determined by the legislative branch have to go through many checks with the citizens of Iceland and also the president to ensure they are correct. The main parties of the Althing are the Progressive Party, the Independence Party, and the Social Democratic Alliance. Members of all the Althing parties are elected on a 4-year basis unless decided differently by the people through a referendum about a particular member. The Judicial Branch. The judicial branch in the Icelandic government interprets the law created by the legislative branch. The courts are organised into district courts and the Supreme Court. There are 8 district courts with 38 permanent district court judges. The Supreme Court of Iceland has 9 Supreme Court judges. These courts are made out of lawyers who have jurisdiction to deal with legal issues. They ensure that the registrations of property and executions have been transferred from the courts to administrative agencies and handled by sheriffs. There are no elections as the judges are chosen by the president and for a career time of service. The judicial and other branches of government are also very similar to other Scandinavian governments, in particular Norway. The Althing and the monarch. The Althing. The Althing is the national parliament of Iceland. It is one of the oldest parliamentary frameworks in the world today. Founded in 1930 AD at the Pingvellir, which loosely translates as assembly fields, which is nowadays the capital. This time marked the beginning of the Icelandic Commonwealth. Even after Iceland's union with Norway in 1262, up until 1799 the Althing still held its sessions at Pingvellir, when it was suspended for 45 years later on. Once recovered in 1844, it moved back to the capital, and there it has stayed ever since. Monarchy until the 1800s. When the Icelanders submitted to the change of the Norwegian king by the terms of the Old Covenant in 1262, the purpose of the Althing changed. The organisation of the Commonwealth, which had been around since 1930, came to an end along with the rule of Godal. Therefore, absolute power of Iceland now rested with the king and his officials. Towards the end of the 14th century, royal succession brought Norway and Iceland under control of the Danish monarchy. With the introduction of an absolute monarch in Denmark, the Icelanders relinquished their independence to the crown, including the right to initiate and consent to legislation. After that, the Althing served almost exclusively as the court law until the year 1800. How efficient is the Icelandic government? The role of the government is one of the most dominant in the country. To examine the efficiency of the Icelandic government, 3 areas of policy can be considered. When the global economy fell in 2008, Iceland suffered a huge loss, more so than any other country. All 3 of its major banks collapsed in the same week of October, and to avoid complete bankruptcy, Iceland sought assistance from the IMF, the first country to do so in over 30 years. Its GDP fell by 65%, and many industries moved abroad or collapsed. At this time, 1/3 of the population believed emigration was the answer to solve the personal economic issues. Since then, the Icelandic economy has made an astonishing recovery, which has been described by many as a miracle. The current unemployment rate has decreased to 5%, and the economy grew last year by 1.6%. The salvage of the Icelandic economy has built confidence within the country's government, which is admired by many other countries worldwide. An immigrant is a person who has citizenship in one country but enters a different country to set up a permanent residence, and an emigrant is a person who leaves their own country to settle permanently in another. The general nationality of Icelandic immigrants is Norwegian, Irish, Russian, Ukrainian, British, and American. There are approximately 1,830 immigrants currently living in Iceland. This is profitable for Iceland, as new residents can boost the economy from the industrial perspective and also increase Iceland's tourist economy. This is possibly due to the global population increase and the urgent need for more houses. If people are coming into Iceland, it means the country is being run efficiently and looks promising to other nationalities. Iceland will have more people actively working in society. In a country, there has to be a balance of the working population to sustain the industries and the dependent generations. Increasing these numbers in a country with a sparse population should benefit the government greatly. The healthcare in Iceland is universal, meaning everyone has access to it. It is provided by the government and is largely paid for in taxes. Financially, this is beneficial for the citizens because it covers treatments a patient may not be able to afford otherwise. It is administered by the Ministry of Welfare. There is almost no private health insurance in Iceland and no private hospitals, although there are only 2 hospitals in the whole country. This is my bit of bibliography. The end.